Hello everyone, I am Mohini Mehrotra and I am currently pursuing MTech IT from IIPS DIV. And in this video, we are going to learn about transaction processing and stored procedures in JDBC. Topics covered in this video are Introduction to Transaction Processing, Asset Properties, Functions and Methods of Transaction Properties. Then Stored Procedures, its introduction, its benefits, callable statements and its parameters. Transaction processing. The sequence of action or a SQL statement is treated as a single unit that is known as transaction. In JDBC, every SQL query will be considered as transaction. If your JDBC connection is in auto-commit mode, which is by default, then every SQL statement is committed to the database upon its completion. Now, asset properties. The asset properties describes the transaction management well. Asset stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. Atomicity. If all the queries are executed successfully, data will be committed, else it won't be committed. Consistency. The database must be consistent state after the transaction. Isolation. The transaction is isolated from all the other transactions. Durability. If the transaction is committed once, it will remain committed even in the event of error or power loss, etc. When an application uses a session object, the session must be in the context of transaction. A transaction begins and commits or begins and rollbacks with the begin, commit and rollback methods on session object. Application can also work in auto-commit mode in which the session automatically begins and commits a transaction whenever an option runs on the map. Auto-commit mode cannot group the multiple operations into a single transaction. Auto-commit mode is slower option if you are creating a batch of multiple operations in single transaction. However, for transactions that contain only one operation, auto-commit is a faster option. When your application is finished, the session uses the optional session.close method to close the session. Closing the session releases it from heap and allows the subsequent calls to get the session method reused and by improving the performance. There are three important functions in transaction management. They are commit, rollback, and save point. Commit. What commit means is that it will make the changes permanently in the database. We can't undo or revoke the changes, but we can change the data in the database. Rollback. Rollback undoes the changes till the last commit or mentioned save point. Sometimes we may want to undo the changes. Save point. Save point helps to create the checkpoint in the transaction and it allows to perform a rollback to the particular save point. Now, transaction processing methods. The connection interface provides 5 methods for transaction management. They are as follows: set auto commit, commit, rollback, save, set save point, or release save point. Set auto commit method. By using set auto commit method, we can set the value to auto commit. The commit method is used to commit the data. After the execution of SQL statement, we can call the commit. Its syntax is con.commit. Rollback. Rollback method is used to undo the changes till the last commit has happened, and its syntax is con.rollback. Set save point method. Set save point method is used to create a new set save point. Release save point method. It is used to delete the created save point. Now in this figure we can see that if we commit, then the transaction will succeed, and if the transaction is failed, we will use rollback. This is the example of transaction management using statement. First, we will make the connection with Oracle driver, and then we have to set auto commit as false, which means it will not be committed automatically, and we have inserted 2 rows and in the database, and then we have committed the transaction. Con.close is used to close the connection. Now, the following example illustrates the use of commit and rollback objects. We don't want all the transaction to be committed here. We create the object of statements. Then we create 2 SQL queries to insert data in the employee. We execute it by calling execute update and then we commit. It is not in catch block. If any SQL exception, then we will call rollback. That is, transaction will be then rolled back. Now, this example illustrates the use of save point. In this program, it is same as the previous one, but here we have set save points by using set save point method. After executing 2 SQL queries and commit method, it will commit the changes, but if error occurs, it will call rollback. and none of the queries will execute and it will roll back to the save points again. Now, stored procedures. A stored procedure is a group of SQL statements that forms a logical unit and performs a particular task, and they are used to encapsulate a set of operations or queries to execute on a database server. For example, operations of an employee database, hire, fire, promote, and lookup, could be coded as stored procedures executed by application code. Stored procedures can be compiled and executed with different parameters and results, and they can have any combination of input, output, or input-output parameters. These are some benefits of stored procedures. Reduce the network traffic, easy to maintain and secure. Reduce the network traffic. Multiple SQL statements are encapsulated in the stored procedures. When we execute it, instead of sending multiple queries, we are sending only the name and the parameters of the stored procedures. Easy to maintain. The stored procedures are reusable. We can implement the business logic within the stored procedures, and it can be used by application multiple times, or different modules of an application can use the same procedures. This way, a stored procedures can make the database more consistent. If any change is required, we need to make a change in the stored procedures only. Secure. The stored procedures are more secure than ad hoc queries. The permission can be granted to the user to execute the stored procedures without giving permission to the tables used in the stored procedures. The stored procedures helps to prevent the database from the SQL injection. Now, in this figure, we can see that higher EMP is a stored procedure, and we can call it from the database application, like we can call the functions in C. Now, we can call the SQL stored procedures using callable statement interface. A callable statement can have input parameters, output parameters, or both. We can create an object of callable statement interface using the prepare call method of the connection interface. This method accepts the string variables representing a query to call the stored procedures and return a callable statement object. Suppose we have to produce the name, my name procedure in the database. We can prepare a callable statement as callable statement cstmt con.prepare call, and then we can pass the parameters to prepare call method. Now the syntax to create MySQL stored procedure is as follows, that we can make create procedure and then we specify the procedure names, then we pass the parameters, we begin and we write the SQL queries and end. This is the example. First we use the delimiters, then we create procedures and the name of the procedures is retrieve users. We begin and then we select every row from the user and then we end. To call the stored procedures, we have the syntax as call and then we specify the procedure name and then the parameters. Now we have the three parameters in the stored procedures, that is in, out, and in out. The callable statement object can use all of the three. In parameter, a parameter whose value is unknown when the SQL statement is created. You bind the values in parameters to set to the set method. Out parameter, a parameter whose value is supplied by SQL statement it returns. We retrieve values from out parameters with the get method. In out method, in out parameters, a parameters that provides both input and output values. We bind the variables with the set methods and retrieve the values from the get method. Now, the following program demonstrates how to call retrieve user stored procedures and generate a single result set. Now, in this program, first we do the connection with the driver manager class and with the parameters that are JDBC URL, username, and the password. Then callable statement is called using prepare call method. Now the result set is used for retrieving the result we use in the result set interface. Then while rs.next, that we use the next method to get the result and to get the output from the database. The output will give the ID, name, mail, country and password from the databases. Thank you.